Welcome back to another episode of the Banking Bros podcast. If you're taking a look at us here, you can see that there's a little bit of a different hue to the bros today. Welcome. We've got Chad in HQ right here at the headquarters in Greenville, South Carolina. A new friend of mine, and I think a very fast friend, based on his personality and his progress and maybe his policies as well. So, Chad, thanks for being here, man.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure knowing you for just about a month now.
Right, just 1 month. Now, we met at an investment property, not just for someone else, but an investment that we put dollars into. Yes. So just a month ago or so, this is December 2025, there was a sale about to happen. So it was the going away party of a really fabulous private residential place in Greenville, South Carolina, where we had actually, I think, initially put in the first $50,000.
Wow, you're the beginners.
Yeah, so that's what he tells us. So we were the first ones. Now, no way were we the largest influx of cash, because this was like $1.5 million he needed to pull off this project. But we met at that party over some wine and cheese or so, and you started to tell me a story about a lot of things that we had in common, and I was like, who is this cat? How come I didn't know him living in my town? So take us back a little bit. Tell us about you as a person and a businessman here, so we can catch everybody up, and let's move it forward for 2026.
Sure. And then the funny thing is, when you say that, it's like, how did we not cross paths?
Right, that's what I was trying to figure out. Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people like that. I keep running into people where it's like, you're doing something big here, and you've been like relatively well known in the community. How have we not met? And I know a lot of faces and names, and I think it's just a matter of time before we all start getting together. So
yes,
we'll be the movers and shakers, the new generation.
We already are. Let's go.
Let's do
man.
It. So as far as me, and excuse my cough, I'm still recovering from Thanksgiving, basically. I think everybody's like, wow, what in the world happened? But I'm from New Hampshire originally.
Okay.
I grew up in southwest New Hampshire in the sticks, a town that had less people than my college, so that was fun. And then I went to college in Pensacola, Florida. Mm-hmm. And then after that, went overseas, worked at a Christian camp there, and then I came back and worked at Christian camp, The Wilds, in North Carolina. So
okay, right, which is about an hour and a half from here. So where were you overseas?
Romania.
Romania.
Yep.
Okay, very good. And it was a Christian camp environment there too?
Yeah, Speranza Pentru Viator as Hope for the Future. It's a children's camp in
no
Northwest.
idea what you just said, but Hope for the Future, I understand that idea.
That's right.
Okay, great.
So I've been to Europe a lot. I have relatives there, friends there. We actually lived in there in Vienna for about a month with two of our kids, 6 years ago. But I've been over there. I have relatives in Estonia, so we've been out to their farm a couple times. Been to Romania twice. I was there the last time for about 3 or 4 months in Romania, and really thought I was going to be going back to Eastern Europe, but that didn't work out. After I came back, worked at the Wilds, and through that, I had already had a pretty good amount of connections at Bob Jones in the Greenville space.
Yes, okay, right.
Because I had been working at the Wilds since 2007. I go up there for camp during... well, I went as a camper prior to that, but then I started working in 2007, 2008 between college semesters, and then I worked in 2009 when they launched the one in New England under Van Hummel.
Okay, yes. And I know these names.
Yeah, they're all people that we know.
Yes.
And after that, got done at the Wilds. They had actually offered me a full-time position, but I didn't feel like it was the right move for me. And I text all my friends in Greenville, all my friends in Pensacola. So whoever finds me a place to live and a job first, I'm going to move there.
So you've got some friends. Okay.
I do.
Well, unless you are regretting the move to Greenville. Would you rather have gone back to Florida?
I do miss the ocean. I do not miss the winter. I will tell you, the winter there is more, the summer and the winter are more miserable than here because the humidity is so high. Most of the time it's 90%, and when it's even 40 degrees out, 90% humidity is quite awful. So Greenville's better in that respect, that it doesn't have like as high of a high and a low of a low as here does, like as Florida does. So I appreciate that, especially from being from New Hampshire. It's like, I kind of like snow. I kind of like it cold.
Okay, right. You take that stuff out of here.
So, yeah, I know.
Nope.
I do miss the ocean, though.
Yeah.
And it would be really nice. Nothing against the low country, but it would kind of be nice if they just went away and we just had the ocean right up to our doorstep. Then we have the mountains and the oceans.
But we might get those floods everybody sees and those hurricanes.
Yeah, but we'd be more like Rio de Janeiro, and that'd be kind of cool.
Okay, very good.
But yeah, I was here, and then I basically decided it was time to settle down. I really didn't make much money until after I moved here.
Yeah, you mentioned like ministry type stuff here. This is normally not big money makers.
No.
Summer camp.
So I'd never made, up through even 2015, I had not made more than $10,000 in a year in
Wow.
my life. Like,
Okay.
and I was 27 at that point.
All right.
And so I got here, and I was working at Tivana, which is Starbucks tea shop
Okay.
that was at the mall.
Yeah.
And I was transferred from there to Chick-fil-A, and that enabled me to buy a house. And backstory to buying a house, which is a huge portion of my real estate business journey,
Okay. Yes.
is, do you remember a thing called Swag Bucks?
Swag bucks.
Yeah, you do like little games and things, and you watch videos, and you get points, and you can like get gift cards.
I think so.
It's like a college thing. And
Okay. Yeah.
when I was doing it, some of the highest points things you could do were signing up for credit cards. But
Okay.
I couldn't because I had no credit.
All right.
So
So
when
you've earned yourself the bucks, but
And-
you're not qualifying for the card.
I earned bucks through some of the things, like
Okay.
sign up for a Netflix subscription and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of remember these things.
Yeah, and then you get
Okay.
gift cards, but the big ones were the credit cards, and I couldn't get them. But when I was in grad school and in Florida still, I was at my 25th birthday party at the beach with some friends and another girl. She was turned 25 too. And so we had this joint party, a bunch of friends, and we're throwing Frisbee around. And somebody throws the Frisbee off into the bushes. So I run out there and jump over the fence and jump over. Like, it was kind of like prickers and different leaves. I jump over, grab the Frisbee, and I throw it back. And then I go to move, and my foot stuck to the ground. And I had a big nail up in my foot from
Really?
a big rusty nail from a board.
Okay.
And
Seems like I don't know where this story is going, but it's exciting.
I know it's quite,
Okay.
quite,
Tell
quite
me.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
So I don't do great with like traumatic events and pain, so I immediately like go throw up after I just eaten a really nice meal, which is terrible to waste that food. And then my friend's like, you have to go to the hospital. And I'm
Sure.
like, well, I don't have insurance. I'm not going to any hospital. And they're
okay.
like, the nurses in our group are like, you are going to the hospital.
Okay.
So they drag me over to the hospital, and they do, a scan, and they give me an extra tetanus shot and all this stuff. And I got a bill from the hospital probably a few weeks later. I stayed off my foot a little bit, but it was generally fine. There was no shards in there or anything like that.
Right.
And then I get this bill from the
Okay.
hospital.
Here it comes. Here it comes. All right. Lay it
like,
on us.
ugh,
Lay it on us, Chad.
Hundreds of dollars, and I didn't have any money. And
So not
hundreds-
thousands.
No, it was only like $800 or maybe $1,000.
But compared to what you had,
Yeah, I didn't.
That was
I
everything.
was getting paid from. I was free at grad school. They were feeding me, housing me, and I was getting paid a little bit of money. I was like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know how to pay this or whatever, so I just didn't pay it. And
Sure.
Obama had changed some of the rules, and your parents' insurance could pay for it, like as long as you're still in college or whatever. But I didn't know that at the time. So probably 6 or 8 months later, at that point, I had left and worked overseas, and then I went and worked at the Wilds. And I get this, notice this is going to collections.
yeah. Okay.
And my dad's like, oh, well, our insurance will cover it. And so they had Medishare or something like that, some like Christian Samaritan's Purse or something.
Okay.
And it ends up paying for it. And suddenly I get all these credit card offers. And I go look, and I had a credit score of 740 because it went to collections, because I stepped on a nail. And now I had a great credit score, and it kept going up.
It all comes together. I finally got it. Okay. Very interesting. All
So
right.
every month it would go up like 2 points or something like that. So by the time I get to 2014, 2015, where I got a job, I was like, well, I need to get, become a normal person. I need to get a house, get a job, get married, have kids, all the normal stuff. Now I'm 27. And I started working at Chick-fil-A, and then I also got my real estate license. I was a real estate agent for about a year's time. I did not particularly enjoy that. But I thought I should probably buy a house since I'm instructing other people on how to buy a house.
Yes.
And then because of my credit score, because of the nail, because of a lot of other things that lined up with that, they said, hey, you can buy this house, and we'll even fund the down payment. The government will, because they're doing a special program.
Yes.
So I came out of pocket like $600 to pull an old oil tank out of the yard. I split the cost with the seller, and I walked in this house, and yeah, and then I actually quit Chick-fil-A like the day after we closed. I put in my 2 weeks notice because I really only used the job as like stability. Started working for Cracker Barrel as an agent on the side, and then I eventually started working for Bob Jones Press as a web developer. And we got married that year, and the next year we had a kid. So that kind of like all that was like led up into the ability to get a house with like basically no money.
Yes. Okay. So when you were growing up, what was your knowledge or understanding of money of real estate. As we move into that story, because I want to hear all the things you're doing now, what was your relationship with money psychologically when you didn't have any? And as you realized, oh, maybe these opportunities are how I leverage dollars or leverage other people's dollars or something like that. Help me understand that, especially for the audience too, who's...
Yeah. So my dad was a custom home builder.
Okay.
He owned a company and he built tons of homes in New England.
Okay, so he had money. Okay.
Yeah, he did
But
really
by
well.
27, he's not giving you anything.
I mean, he helped pay for college, but if you know
Okay,
anything about
right.
Pensacola, it's dirt cheap.
Okay,
compared to, like,
right,
I mean, it was
right.
cheaper than my high school because they sent us to Christian school
Okay,
for
all right.
high school. And, you know, we did a lot of really nice things. And they did buy me things, but I wasn't like a trust fund kid or
Well, I'm
anything
just
like that.
wondering, well, once you're grown, that's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out.
So there was definitely like instructions about money and how he ran his business. But, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't really care as much.
Yeah,
We
you
went on
don't
the job
care,
site,
right.
we worked for him.
Yeah.
I thought about money, like, ooh, I want things and stuff. But I then went off and like just did school and did a lot of missions and worked on like different places.
Right.
And thought about money from the perspective of like, hey, let's sell Krispy Kreme donuts so we can fundraise so we can go back to Romania and help kids and stuff.
Right.
I didn't really think about money until when I got here and I got a job and I was like, well, it takes a lot of money to like have a house and 2 cars and a wife and then a kid, and our kid had like medical issues and had to have open heart surgery.
Wow, yeah.
And we needed a lot of money and we didn't have it. But there was a lot of things that happened during that time that, you know, taught us about trusting God and, you know, he's really in control of everything regardless. But my relationship...
See, he had nails in his hands and feet as well, my man, right?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
y'all, then let that be a lesson to you out there.
That's right.
Okay, very good.
So I feel the
And then his dad paid for it as well. I don't know. That's where maybe it breaks down. No, it might work like that. Okay.
The analogy
Very
there.
good. All right. Yeah.
But my relationship with money, so my dad, I remember distinctly my dad like handed me a book about like how to, my dad wanted to do more stuff with money, but he just ran his company, you know, building houses. And so he handed me this book and he's like, he felt like I was really smart and was like, here's a book about stock market stuff. Like, go read that. I didn't know what I was doing with it. I also particularly wasn't interested in it. So I never really did anything or had much of a relationship with money except for like, I didn't have it and didn't know how to get it and I like didn't even bother.
Yeah, okay.
But then when I got married, it's like, okay, we need to figure out how to do this. Can we do something fun to make it? So I became a Minecraft YouTuber for a little bit on the side when I was working at the press. Started working for, like, doing side projects for one of my friends' companies. I bought a little crypto, lost money in that. Like, I just kind of, like, dabbled in.
All right.
We were not making much money. Like, well, if you've worked at Dow Jones at all, you know, you don't get paid a lot. And,
Sure.
I mean, that might be different now. But, so it was probably, it wasn't until about the time where my daughter had open heart surgery where, you know, we learned to trust God to take care of us through things. But at that time, like, my relationship with money was now, I know it provides things that I want or want to give to people or need for myself or my family. And so the relationship was there. And it's like, I need this. How do we get it? But I could never figure that out. And I didn't have a big drive of knowing what I wanted to do in life. And so without that being aligned, it's like, you can't make that much money if you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah. It seems like you're having a good time, and a lot of your stuff seems to be under the umbrella of mission work and Christian charity and things like that.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so tell us about this real estate journey that you've been on, and how'd you get into it, and what's going on now?
So the gist of it is about 10 years of it. Did a live-in flip, which is a great way to do it. You live there. I initially had some people living in my house, some friends from the Wilds and from Bob Jones, lived in the rooms, house hacking, before it was called house hacking.
Yep.
And then my wife moved in. They all got kicked out. And we lived there for 2 years. And then we moved. And there's like so many stories with every house, and I'm not going to deal with all that right now. But we moved. Another house needed work, lived in there for 2 years. And then we were going to find another house to move into because it was the 2-year mark. But I couldn't find one that made sense, so we moved into an apartment. Then we went overseas and lived in Vienna for a little bit. Came back to the apartment, and then we had flipped another house.
Yeah.
I also learned that if you don't live in a house and you flip it in a short time, you pay a lot of taxes.
Yes, you do.
And I learned I do not like that.
Yeah.
And so then we found a house, and this story I'll get into just briefly. We were looking for a new house closer to our church, and my friend's like, well, those people over there, they work on houses, and they had this one house they were trying to sell off in my neighborhood. And I go meet them. talk to them. They show us the house. I'm like, sure, I'll work out. We worked out the numbers. It took a few months to figure it all out. And this was in 2020, which, if you know anything about that, you've been alive for the past 5 years. That was a pretty big year.
Yeah.
And we bought this house. I had money from our previous sale and from our flip, and I got part of a personal loan from the bank, and we bought this house that needed work. And we got it purchased, plus got a HELOC on it. And the backstory to why the lady was selling is she was flipping this house with her partner, one of her business friends, but he was going through a divorce and needed to liquidate and get rid of stuff.
Okay, right.
And the lady who financed the property died, and so her estate was like calling the note due.
Oh, okay.
And when I was renovating this house, like, it was weird. There were squatters in the front who were charging rent to the squatter, druggies in the back of the shed, and it was like a lot of people.
As they should.
Yeah, I know exactly.
As they should. They're business people, are they not?
I know,
right?
exactly. And
maybe
so,
not on the up and up, but they're business people.
Yeah, so everybody's got to work a little harder to make some money. And so it was kind of crazy circumstances. But when we bought the house and I got the bank financing, I can't remember the exact structure, and I'll have to look back at it. But when we got the financing, because of COVID, the appraiser couldn't come in the house. And so he drives up.
Okay.
And at the time, we were taking out like some walls in the middle of the house, putting in a beam. There was this giant hearth for a fireplace that was like, it was probably like 4 feet long, and it was covered in river stone from North Carolina, and a giant chimney. And we had been jackhammering out that chimney and throwing into a giant dumpster in the front yard. And he pulls up. We weren't there at the moment, but his picture, there's a dumpster here, there's like a hole in the roof. And he just writes, wild assumption this property has value, and just puts a number down.
Really?
And then they financed it. Yeah. And so
the Lord works in mysterious ways, folks. If you haven't figured this out. Right. Doesn't go in, writes down a number. I'm sure he did his due diligence on comps.
Yeah.
And he knew the
Appraisers
area.
do that. Yeah,
they do that, right? So he doesn't even have to go in. Very interesting. Yeah.
So that house allowed us to get in a stable position. Now we're looking for a new house. But we've been there since then, and because shortly after that, we actually switched churches, and I was talking about some of the other things we were doing to somebody, and I jumped ahead a little bit. One thing that majorly changed our life was after we moved into that house, we were having this conversation. I was working for my friend's company now at this point because he had offered me a job. I moved from the press to his, and I was still a web developer. And our families always wanted to get together for, holidays or vacations and stuff. And the funny thing is, like, I could buy a house, but I could not afford to go on vacation. Vacation was, like, expensive.
Sure. Yeah, I gotcha. Well, you're not working when you're on vacation. That's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're just consuming and spending.
Exactly.
And not doing any deals,
it's
right?
It's expensive in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And I realized I don't know how to afford vacation, but I know how to buy a house.
Okay.
And I heard of this thing called Airbnb, and we always stay at Airbnbs. Why don't I just buy a house and turn it into an Airbnb, and then we can tell them, no, we're going here because it's free.
There you go.
That's how we do it. So I put out some target markers, and we picked this one city, Bryson City, and there was a house up there that was dilapidated and a wood shop that had a kitchen and a bathroom that was dilapidated. And I drove up there, made an offer, less than they were asking. I think I bought it for like 80 or something, 90, and then used some of the proceeds that we still had from our last flip. And I spent 4 months or so, I would work 40 hours for my friend's company in about 3 to 4 days, and then I'd drive up there on weekends for 1 or 2 days and then be back for church. And I just work up there all the time, and I would take trailer loads of garbage, down to our dump here.
Yeah,
I'd bring up friends occasionally, and we got really close to the end of that year. We didn't have COVID or anything like that. Our neighbor comes to us and says, hey, I want to sell my house, because I've been like asking him if he would ever sell his house. He's like, hey, I'm ready to sell it. Do you want to buy it? I tell a guy at our church, and I was like, hey, my neighbor said he'd sell me his house. He's like, well, how are you going to buy it? And I was like, I guess I'm going to go talk to the bank. I don't have any more money. He's like, I'll fund it for you because I'm a private money lender. I was like, oh, perfect, because he knew what we were doing.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was about to finish up the house up there. I go to my neighbor's house. We sign the papers. I shake his hands. He's like, I've been a little not feeling well lately, but just letting you know. I'm like, oh, thanks. I got COVID. It really hit me when I was up on one of my last weekends to set up the Bryson City house. And so I spent like a night just in agony laying on like this half-made bed that I was trying to put together.
Right.
And then come home, delayed everything for 2 weeks. We were all sick. And then I finally launched our Airbnb in North Carolina. We closed on our neighbor's house. We furnished and renovated that house in a month, and now we suddenly had 2 Airbnbs. And that started our STR journey over the next few years. And that was a huge thing for us, especially because during that journey, I switched from my friend's company to another company out of Dallas, still a web developer. We were making more money in that space. We were making money in Airbnbs. And I was like, wow, life is pretty good. And that was really awesome to like be at a point where we like had more money than we needed. And so it's like, okay, well, we can like save up reserves and we can do this, and it's kind of fun. And so my relationship with money was still like I was doing things, but I wasn't like entirely certain how all the mechanics worked here. So definitely made some mistakes.
Sure, we all have. So what's a lesson that you would have to a listener out there in the cash compound community? We're teaching people code cracking cash flow. We're helping them with the save and spend system. We'll get into infinite banking here shortly as well. But what would you say to folks who are ready to start their journey? They're listening to a podcast like this, so they're obviously interested, but they might be where you were 5 or 6 years ago. What lessons are to be learned in your journey so far?
The number one thing that I believe would help anybody is figuring out who you are and what you want to do. Because if you don't know that, you can be really good at something that you hate. There's a guy out of Nashville. His name's Coach Michael Burt. He runs the Greatness Factory and talks about that everybody has a unique skill, a specific problem they're put here to solve, and a vehicle in which to do it. If you can figure out those things, you will feel like you have superpowers. And I can't say I'm entirely there, but I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
And the closer I get to alignment in why I'm here and what I really want to do and what I'm capable of doing, like that will make you a force to be reckoned with, because you can see it in the people. When you ever meet somebody and we're like, that person knows what they're about. Like, man, it's beautiful.
It's attractive, right?
It's attractive.
It'll bring you in. So when we get into this conversation about infinite banking, we teach that around here all the time. We walk people through our save and spend system where we say you can save your money and spend someone else's. Why is it that a guy like you, who's got a couple of good things going on in real estate, everybody and their grandmother knows you got to get into real estate. You got to make money in real estate. That's how you make money. There's this new crypto thing, but I mean, real estate has made all the millionaires. What is it that you see a year ago in this IBC idea that you're like, hold on, there is something here as well, or I need to be involved? Because I think sometimes folks think there's an either or going on. And you said, no, these must work together. Tell us that story and how you got involved.
Yeah. So just over 2.5 years ago, I got laid off from my web development job, bought some houses, flipped them, got some more Airbnb, sold them. And then just over a year ago, somebody from Pace Morby's team in Gator reached out to me and said, hey, you should join Gator.
And now remind everybody who Pace Morby is. Now, I know,
Morby,
of course.
It's one of my friends.
Yes, but tell us who. And he's coming to town. Obviously, by the time this airs, he'll already come to town for the second time.
Yep. It's been a while.
I emceed the first one. Yes, but I wasn't sure if he'd come more times than that. So help everybody understand how you found that community and where you learned about this new trick.
Yeah, so if you look up real estate on YouTube, you're gonna come across one of his videos at some point, and it's all about creative financing, subject to like how to buy houses without money out of your pocket, how to get paid to buy houses, which is one of our creative techniques. And I've seen him around before, and I never had any adverse reaction. I thought he was very smart at what he does. I didn't understand it, and I didn't do it at the time.
Yeah.
But what attracted me to it was the idea of being a lender, because I had relationships with lenders, private money lenders.
Yeah.
And I heard the term private equity and all that stuff. And I was like, man, the people who, if you're a bank, you're in control.
Yes, there you go.
Like,
if you're a bank, you're in control. Yes. How do I get there?
I want to be a bank.
Yep.
And that's kind of what attracted to me to that whole premise of Gator is like, hey, you don't even have to use your own money to lend.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wasn't doing anything really. I was trying to spin my wheels and figure out how to make money. I need to go understand how money works.
Yep.
And I joined Gator. And in the training, they talk, Pace goes through all kinds of stuff from white labeling, hard money lenders, earnest money, transactional lenders, all this stuff. And then he talks about credit stacking. And then he talks about whole life policies. And because I was self-employed, I had the unique advantage of watching all of the training as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And doing everything all at once.
Okay.
And that is kind of, this is not for everybody. I don't tell you to do this. But,
sure.
I'm the kind of person who learns through experience, even if the experience is hard, because experience is an amazing teacher, but it's also the hardest teacher. You're gonna
Well,
have.
yeah, it takes a long time too, right? If you can pick it up based on other people's experiences or
Yes.
their tutelage, that's great. But there's a lot of us who have to put our hands in it.
Yep.
So
yep.
that's okay. So we got you.
Exactly. So caution, but also it's a great way to learn if you can get in there and get beat up a little bit. The biggest thing that I would say is just like, don't give up. I've been through so many crazy things. Like the amount of money that like comes into my bank account and leaves my bank account, like the positives and negatives I've seen this year, even over a week span, is
Sure.
wild. And
Yeah.
as
Well,
long as
that's
you don't keep going.
entrepreneurism,
Yeah.
right? If you have a W-2, you're not going to experience that normally.
Yep, yep.
But if you are, there's sometimes where you feel you've got total control, but you're like, tomorrow, I'm pretty sure it's going to be nothing in there.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? So we've all gone through that
I was like,
with
I'm
1099s.
moving $50 over just to like cover balance. I'm like, that other lend is supposed to come in sometime this
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
so
Like it
I
might
can
be it might be
breathe.
five figures by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But right now, since it's $5, well, I got to hold off till tomorrow.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, or negative $5.
Yep,
Or
yep.
negative $500.
Yep.
Thankfully, not negative $5,000 yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
I actually forget. A quick story is I forgot to like move some money into our personal account. My wife's like, our account says it's kind of low in the money this morning.
Oh yeah.
And
see?
I look at it,
There
it's
you
like
go.
negative like $2,000, and I was like, I forgot to
Yeah.
wire this month's
Yeah.
payment to us.
Yeah,
There you
I've
go.
done it all. I've done it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're so now Gator, we're going to take a chomp out of that closing deal.
Yep.
All right. So, and we'll have some links probably to this show to help you guys understand how to join these communities and
It's
what's
all on
going
my
there.
website. I
Yep.
teach stuff there. Actually,
Okay.
I'll get into some other stuff later. But
Okay. So you are seeing some of his instruction or ideas around whole life insurance at this
yes.
point. Yeah.
So that was interesting in the base premise from what I understood at the time. And there's a lot more to it now. But I was like, I can get a policy. I put money in and it continues to grow, but I can take almost all that money back and eventually all that money and then eventually more than the money I put back into it. And I pay at 5%. And I was like, well, it
And it's
changes.
simple interest and things
Yeah,
like that,
and I was
which you
like-
learn later, but you're still like thinking these numbers are great or
Yes.
this compound interest thing is awesome, but you don't, once again, know all of, we call them the 8 ideals. You don't know all 8. You focus on 1 or 2 and you're like, that's good enough.
Yes.
Turns
yes.
out, well, there's also a death benefit. Well, I get, yeah, you told me that at the beginning. Of course, there'd be a death benefit, but I'm not thinking about that right now. So
Yes.
there's a lot of things going on here in this one type of contract.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and everything is like a tool. So if you can, and that's kind of, I'd say, my shift in my idea of money. Because if
Okay.
you look at this policy as a normal person, or you listen to Dave Ramsey, or you like, depends on who you talk to, everybody views money in different ways. And I view it more like a game. If you've ever watched Andrew Cordell and Eddie Wilson talk about it at the Aspire Tour, that probably was one of the defining moments for me that changed my relationship with money into, it's not a relationship, it's a game. Like I can dig with my hands, or I can use a shovel, or I can use an excavator. It's just a tool. Like I don't really care.
Yeah, okay.
And that helped me a lot. So when I looked at this, I had already learned credit stacking. I was like, I'm going to do this. Boom. Like I'm going to take money at 0% interest for 12 months and lend it out. But also there's a 10% fee. And it's like, as long as I'm decent at math, as long as I can overdo whatever the cost of that capital is, it makes sense. And the same thing here, I was like, the same principles. I'll put the money in. The fun part was I did credit stacking. It cost me 8% to get about $200,000.
Okay.
And then I took that money and I funded, well, first off, I funded a Navy Federal account because you can put a pledge loan in. So I put like 50 grand in. I would recommend doing 2 pledge loans for 50 grand each. But you put 50 grand in, they take your money, they give you a loan back of 50 grand, and you wait 2 days and you pay it down 99%. And now you have a loan for 15 years that marks as being paid every month, good on your credit, but you don't actually ever make any payments. And it's
Oh.
only got a balance of $500.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I got you.
I took my money out of that, and then I put it into my whole life policy, and then I took my money back out, and when I lent it, and
There you
now
go.
I have all this money. I'm like, oh, I have this pretend loan over here that shows well on my credit. I have this policy over here that I already have the money out deployed somewhere else, making more than 5% interest, and then I have that all from credit cards that I didn't make
There you
any of
go.
that money. So
Right.
it was beautiful. It worked out really well.
Love it. Very good. All started out from a nail in the flesh.
That's right. That's
right? Which that's my other biblical reference out there, all you church people. So I love it. Okay, so in Greenville, South Carolina, where we both live, and our community is all over the country, but we've got some big opportunities that I hear from some of the old Milltown experience that we've had. There's been a lot of redone big factories and mills and textiles were in this community, and you're working on some big things in 2026 with other people that I know, and I'm so happy that I ran into you. But fill me in on what's going in, and of course, count me in for the next big
Of
deal.
course.
So tell us
Yes.
what you're doing. Tell us.
All
what's
right.
going
Well,
on.
if you got some capital to deploy, let's go.
There we go.
So my vision about 1 year ago, I was literally sending one of my good friends, Ann McNamara, audio message the other day. She's down in Palatka, Florida, and she's from Ireland, and she worked in on a magazine called The Big Issue, which was homelessness in the UK, where she's from.
Yep.
And she did a lot of urban redevelopment and did big proposals for private and public sector works. And so she came over to the U.S. and she's like, "Oh, let's redevelop a small town. Like let's revitalize a small town." She did not use the word redevelop. That's my word.
Okay,
And
got it.
She's like, "Let's revitalize a small town." At the same time in which I joined Gator, I live in Taylor's, and if you live around Taylor's, you're like, Main Street is bleh.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's a big church, a ton of parking lots, and then a bunch of single-family homes. Some of them are dumpy, some of them are okay, and some of them are really nice. And I had the opportunity, like right after I joined Gator and started doing all this stuff, to buy some of the houses on Main Street. I actually had the opportunity to buy 3, and we bought 3 right away. And now I own 7, and I'm in the works to buy 3 or 4 more of them. And I'm just going through Main Street and just buying everything. And which is a different strategy than when I first started off. My initial idea was buy a few and we'll build some like bakery or a coffee house and make some fun stuff. And then other investors will like feel the vibe and want to put some love into Main Street. And that just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's a lot of politics in small towns and people who feel that they own something
Sure.
and can do something,
Right,
tell you what to do.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, we slowed down the whole revitalize, redevelop project. And I realized I just need to acquire more of the property, and then I can kind of force through some of the changes. And at the same time, when I got into the beginning of the spring, I joined Owners Club, which is another Pace Morby community thing. And I was pitching this project. I have 4 kids, soon to be 5. When we get out of church, we want to go hang out with our friends. Chick-fil-A's closed. There's nowhere for kids to play.
Right.
And I'm like, where are we going to go?
Right.
And we go to Chipotle. And so after 2 hours, I feel a little bad. I'm picking up all the stuff off the floor. Not that our kids are bad, but when there's 4 of our kids, 9 of the others, and 4 of the other ones, that's a lot of kids in this restaurant that basically wants, Gen Z people to show up, be quiet, put their headphones on, eat their food, and leave. Doesn't work well for people with kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to build a space for that because you can go to like West Greenville and go to Unity Park or something cooler.
Sure, of course.
You know, but there wasn't anything for us here. And I was like, well, let's go build something. And I knew of a property, and I had already been in contact with a miniature golf course manufacturer or developer. We were looking at building some at our Airbnbs, and I was like, well, let's just go build a full-size one. Let's build a pizza restaurant with a giant pavilion outside and indoor seating, and there's mini golf, so you can just like hang out there all day. I want so much seating. The problem with restaurants is like they're like, here's a tiny little space.
There you
Obviously,
go.
probably
Good point.
unit economics or something.
Right.
You got to make money.
Yeah.
It's like eat your food and leave. Just like when I worked at Cracker Barrel, we're like 45 minutes in and out. That's what the plan is. Like you're gonna get your food in 15 minutes from sitting down. And you're gonna be out in 30 minutes so we can reset the table. And I was like, I kind of yes, we need to make money, but also want to build a place that's for community to get together, have events, just like hang out, and have somewhere to go after church. And kids have things. I went to do that project. I pitched it in Phoenix at Dealmaker Live in front of Pace and Matt Sorensen and Jameel. And they thought it was great. The market here thought it was a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, the lenders were like, well, all my financing options were like, that's awesome. But we have no clue who you are, and we've never seen you like do any of this.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gotta find out what you're doing first. So since then, I had like a little bit of a crisis in that, repivot, learn some stuff about myself, change my relationship with money, who I am. And another, from Coach Michael Burr, I talked to him, and he was just like, you need to become a person of interest. He laid out a little plan for that, and I've been working on that.
Interesting. A person of interest.
Yeah, somebody who can like attract. So a lot of people out there like want to run after money, but like if I just work harder and grab this stuff, and if I think about Lambos all day long and say Lamborghini, Lamborghini, I'll get a Lamborghini.
But Jim
like, doesn't
Rohn
work.
says that success is something you attract by the person you've become.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So Matt Peckman and Tamara Schulister, they just did Altschuler. I forget her last name. They just did a Mind Method coaching program when we were in Scottsdale. And they were talking about that, where people see somebody and they say, oh, that rich person, that person who has that thing, I wanted that. But if you think about it in the right context, you should be thinking, I see somebody who has something I want, or I see something I want. What is that person thinking right now? Like, what is that person? Who are they that they have that thing? And that will put you in a better mindset about it because, like, you don't think. I mean, there are some people out there who just like get windfall lotteries or crypto bros or whatever it might be. But the general amount, vast majority of people need to put themselves in the shoes of that person. How do they wake up? Like, what's their routine? Like, what do they do for work? Like, how do they view their work? How do they view their spouse and their kids and their purpose here? It's going to be vastly different than if you don't have those things. It's probably that stuff. It's the internal stuff, and it's not the external stuff.
Yeah.
So
very interesting.
That's kind of been your shift this year.
Well, that's great. That's great. So it'll already have passed by the time this episode comes out. But tell us about the Sub-2 community in Pace coming to see everybody in Greenville again. So I met him and Jamil and several other guys, including, is there Josh?
Jerry Norton, was he there?
No, I don't think Jerry was. There's another guy named Josh who has a big Instagram following, Josh something. But my brother at the Money Multiplier at the time was helping everyone get started with their policies. So when I came to host it, because I'm a host and an MC in our community, and I'm trying to tell the people who are putting this event on, I know something about money you should know as well. But they didn't know that. So I'm hosting it, and I got to speak on it a little bit, and I poked a couple of these speakers. And I said, by the way, I'm on the team, or I did this, or that's my brother who helped you. They're like, whoa, yeah, you're the guy. You guys, you know how to use these policies. You're the guys for that. It's like, yeah, that's us. So it was interesting because that was 2019, I think. That was 2019 when the crop of big names in this particular creative finance community came through. But what's going on this week?
Yes, Pace is coming, and Jamil Damji and Jerry Norton, and we are doing an event that's part of the Creative Nation Tour. And so he's going through every state in the U.S. He's already hit a lot of states. He's in Atlanta right now, or was just there. He'll be doing Charleston the middle of this week, and then Greenville, and then Charlotte, and he's just going to keep going through every state all the way up through Squat Up Summit, which is the big meetup for everybody.
Yes.
And
is that one always done in Scottsdale?
That one is done next year. It'll be in Aurora, outside of Denver.
Okay.
Last year it was in Dallas.
Okay.
And the prior year, I think it was somewhere in Florida, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I wasn't a part of the community at the point.
Gotcha.
And what we're doing at this event is there'll be pizza and all that fun stuff, but it's supposed to help people figure out what they have and what they need and get actual deals going. So there'll be a short session where Pace talks about, hey, this is how you present what you have, what your skills, what you know you have, and then what you're looking for, what you need, and then everybody will meet and greet and kind of like pair up a little bit. And then there'll be a discussion about some of the creative financing, seller negotiation stuff, and then lists given out that Jerry Norton's team has already pulled that are warm leads, that are ready to sell their house, and then we're going to cold call people right there and talk to them and get their properties under contract. And in several of the other cities, people already got their first deals.
Yeah, love that.
There should be about 200 to 250 people coming, and it'll be really exciting.
Very good.
Yes.
Well, only the beginning with a creative mind like yourself. And so we look forward to telling that story and the growth now that we're friends. That we know 500 of the same people. So this is great. Well, Chad, let's cut it at this point, and we'll have a part 2 and part 3 and part 4 later. And we'll drop some links in the bio and the show notes for this podcast and YouTube experience, because there's a lot of good things coming in 2026 and beyond.
Yes.
Appreciate your energy, man.
No problem.
And your vision.
Thank you.
All right.
You are now tuned to the banking bro. Said we couldn't make it, 3 settle, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.